Missiles and airstrikes continue to fly across the Middle East as the conflict intensifies. Speaking to the Time magazine, Trump said that there wasn't a time limit set for the war and that fighting can go on forever. Further, he also asked the IRGC and military to surrender in Iran or face death. At the same time, both the US as well as Israel have claimed that as many as 200 targets inside of Iran have been hit. Iranian fighter jets parked in hangars were hit, while there was a heavy bombardment in Bushehr in Iran. Now, speaking on the regime change in Iran, Trump said that he must be involved in choosing the next leader and even slammed Mojtaba Khamenei, branding him as a lightweight. Mojtaba Khamenei is the son of the late supreme leader and also called his possible appointment unacceptable. Meanwhile, Iranian foreign minister has said that Iran is not seeking ceasefire from America and is ready for a possible ground invasion by the US. Iran has launched its latest wave of missile attacks on Israel and has even struck a major oil refinery in Bahrain with drones intercepted over Abu Dhabi.
And I'm once again calling on all members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the military and the police to lay down their arms. They're only going to be killed. And now is the time to stand up for the Iranian people and help take back your country. Accept immunity, we'll give you immunity, and we'll be giving you really the right side of history, because that's what it is. So you'll be perfectly safe with total immunity, or you'll face absolutely guaranteed death. We also urge Iranian diplomats around the world to request asylum and to help us shape a new and better Iran with great potential. The United States will ensure that whoever leads the country next, Iran will not threaten America or its neighbors, Israel, anybody.
Commitment to our mission objectives only increases as our advantages continue to increase. We've got no shortage of munitions. Our stockpiles of defensive and offensive weapons allow us to sustain this campaign as long as we need to. Again, our munition status only increases as our advantage increases. Our capabilities, we have only just begun to fight and fight decisively. Having a chance to hear from Admiral Cooper. If you think you've seen something, just wait. The amount of combat power that's still flowing, that's still coming, that we'll be able to project over Iran is a multiples of what it currently is right now when you add up our capabilities and those of the Israeli Defense Forces.
Just the last 72 hours, America's bomber force has struck nearly 200 targets deep inside of Iran, including around Tehran. And in just the last hour, U.S. B-2 bombers dropped dozens of 2,000-pound penetrator bombs targeting deeply buried ballistic missile launchers. The president gave us another task: to raise or level Iran's ballistic missile industrial base. So we're not just hitting what they have, we're destroying their ability to rebuild. And so as we transition to the next phase of this operation, we will systemically dismantle Iran's missile production capability for the future, and that's absolutely in progress.
Aditya Rajkol still with me. Also joining us live at this point on Breaking Ground is Yusuf Jalali. He's joining us live from Tehran. Yusuf, let's go to you first. What has Iran's response been to this? Worrying statements coming out from the US. The US Defense Secretary says the campaign has only just begun.
Of course, from the comments by different Iranian officials you just aired, it seems that the Iranians are striking a defiant tone. They have been trying to project resilience and defiance in the face of the incoming attacks. We've been hearing similar comments from the security chief Ali Larijani, who's saying that if the United States or the Israelis or the Kurds or the dissident Kurds from Iraq will dare to launch land invasion or ground invasion against Iran, then they have to face the consequences, warning that those soldiers or anyone who's going to do this would die inside Iran's soil. They're saying that they have experience in the June war, they have experience in the 8-year Iraqi imposed war against Iran, so they're more prepared than the Americans in any form of ground invasion, and they have the capability to confront such a move from the United States or from the Israelis. Iran has been also trying on state television, has been trying to project resistance and defiance, trying to tell its own public and its own people that they have been able to confront the Israeli and the American attacks. They've been just broadcasting reports showing they've been able to down some MQ-9 Reaper drones or Hermes 900 Israeli drones. They've been just counting every drone that they manage to down or shoot down using their air defense systems. But of course, on the other side, we've been seeing that the Iranians have gone through significant damage from the American and Israeli strikes. When it comes to their ballistic missile capability and arsenal, they've been under fierce attacks and strikes by the United States and the Israelis. Ballistic missile production lines in Parchin, in Absard, in northeast Tehran have been destroyed, and footages circulating on social media show the level of the destruction.
Yusuf, do stay with me. Aditya, you have Donald Trump speaking to the Time magazine and saying there is no time limit to the Iranian war, which throws up a question that many analysts will ask at this point, which is, will this be an open-ended war? That's the fear when you have the top leader of the United States of America making comments like I've just spoken to you about.
Well, there has been a shift in what Donald Trump has been saying since the very beginning. When the military operation began on Feb 28th early morning, we began with a preemptive strike. That's the narrative that was set. Then it was said that it will just take a few days. It won't matter anymore after 2 or 3 days. Gradually, they moved to 4 weeks. Finally, they said it will take 4 to 5 weeks. And now latest statement coming in from Donald Trump saying that there's no time limit that has been set. Now, when I interviewed here in Jerusalem, the foreign minister of Israel, he had maintained to me on the 3rd day of the war that there is no time limit to it. The main objective for Israel and US this time around seems to be to remove the Iranian regime. Now, how that will play out, how long will that take, is anybody's guess. But at the same time, the kind of statement that has just come in from Secretary of War Hegseth clearly indicates that the American military is all prepared. They're bombarding Iran like never before. And even though Iranians are putting a brave face out there, we heard the Iranian foreign minister and the deputy foreign minister in New Delhi. It does seem that it is a long haul that we are looking at. Last night, we did see for the first time on your screens right now the cluster bombs that came in from the Iranian side. So Iranians are also trying to up the ante against Israel and other countries in the region. But it does seem that US is maintaining that they will continue to strike the capability of Iranians right now. That means the missile launch pads, the critical infrastructure, and of course the top leadership of the Iranian military, the IRGC, and the Bushehr forces will continue to face dastardly attacks.
All right, moving on now. US President Donald Trump on Thursday hinted that his administration could shift its focus to Cuba once ongoing US military operations against Iran conclude. Donald Trump suggested that Washington may eventually move to quote-unquote fix the situation in Cuba. Trump said, and I'm going to quote him here, "We think that we want to fix it, finish this one first," unquote, referring to the conflict involving Iran. He also said that it would be only a matter of time before Cuban Americans could return to the island. Addressing the large Miami-based audience, many of whom have Cuban roots, Trump said he hopes people will be able to travel back to Cuba, but hopefully not to stay. The remarks indicate that even as tensions escalate in the Middle East, the administration may be considering another significant foreign policy move involving Cuba. Trump made the comment shortly after offering an upbeat assessment of the war against Iran, claiming that the US and Israeli forces were continuing to totally demolish the enemy. He also praised Marco Rubio, saying the Secretary of State had been doing a fantastic job.
He's doing some job, and your next one is going to be, we want to do that special Cuba. He's waiting, but he says, let's get this one finished first. We could do them all at the same time, but bad things happen. If you watch countries over the years, you do them all too fast, bad things happen. We're not going to let anything bad happen to this country.
Aditya Rajkol back with us live from Israel. Aditya, war in Iran warning for Cuba. What should we make of this statement? First Venezuela, now you have Iran, and now Cuba is what Donald Trump mentions.
Well, Vedika, there are two ways of looking at it. One is pressure tactics, signaling and messaging that Trump is, famous for doing. But also he means business. He's a businessman. He's somebody who's been involved with real estate. And, the kind of statements that he made on Venezuela, on Iran for the last 2 years have proved to be correct. The kind of Venezuela operation that happened just weeks ago when Maduro was captured and then tried in a court in New York clearly indicates that he has similar plans for Cuba. The same night when that operation was underway, he was issuing threats and warnings to the leadership in Cuba. So it does seem either the leadership in Cuba will come on the talking table and negotiate some kind of a settlement with Donald Trump, or else face the wrath of the American military. That's what it seems like, because America seems to have some kind of an edge, diplomatically, militarily speaking, when it comes to Iran. And in the backdrop of the kind of devastation that we are witnessing in Iran and the American B-2 bombers, American fighter jets, and along with the partnership with Israel conducting huge military operations over the last 7 days, clearly indicates that he means that Cuba needs to come on the same table when it comes to the American demands, or else face consequences. So who knows that after Iran, he has plans for Cuba. But it does seem like that what has happened in Venezuela will clearly indicate that the Cuban leadership may actually come on the talking table and agree to the demands of Donald Trump.
Aditya, do stay with me. We have some breaking news coming in. News is coming in. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar has met with the Deputy Foreign Minister of Iran on the sidelines of an event here in the national capital. The meeting, of course, comes just days after US sunk an Iranian ship off the Sri Lankan coast. That's the latest that we have for you. Remember, India had sent condolences to Iran on the death of its supreme leader, Khamenei. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri had met with the Iranian ambassador in Delhi and signed the condolence book for Khamenei's death. Now, Vishal Vivek with us live. Vishal, you have the Foreign Minister meeting with the Deputy Foreign Minister of Iran. Just bring us the details of this meeting.
Well, we've heard from the Indian authorities that they have expressed condolences over the killing of Ayatollah Khamenei, the former leader of Iran, that was the leader of Iran for decades, who was finally assassinated by the US side in the joint strikes by the US and Israeli sides. So these condolences messages have been trickling in. This is the latest in a series of meetings meetings and calls that the Indian side has had with the Iranian side. Yesterday, Jaishankar also spoke with his counterpart from the Iranian side, Sayyid Abbas Araghchi, and now his deputy has spoken with his counterpart on the India side. So these meetings and these condolences messages will keep on being exchanged, because this is a historic moment in the last 6-7 days. Whatever has happened, right from the killing of Ayatollah Khamenei, series of things have happened. India is in a very tight spot at the moment, because the overall oil industry of India also depends somewhat on the Strait of Hormuz that seems to be controlled by the Iranian side. So India has to strike a balance between both the sides. So that is what India is trying to do at the moment.
Vishal, do stay with me. We are going to come back to you in a moment from now. In other news, but of course related to the crisis in the Middle East, fresh reports have emerged in the tragic story of an attack on a girls' school in Minab. This happened in Iran on Saturday that claimed more than 160 lives, while more than 160 people, mostly children, have been killed in that attack. No side or faction has come forward to take responsibility. The US has said that probe is underway. In the latest, Tehran has hit out at the US, blaming it for the attack that killed children aged between 7 to 11. Now, international media reports indicate that it is likely that US forces were responsible for that strike. A report by the New York Times indicates that the school building was severely damaged by a precision strike that occurred at the same time as attacks on an adjacent naval base operated by the IRGC. Meanwhile, another report by Reuters says that investigators believe it is likely that US forces were behind the strike but have not yet reached a final conclusion.
The attack people here, you have to go and see images of the primary school in which, in the first minute of the attack, intentionally American bombed a primary school, and they killed around 200 small kids at the age of 7 to 11, all girls. American has decided to put an end to the existence of Iran. Israelis have been promising this for many decades because of their delusion about greater Israel. We told Americans and we told our neighbors that if they would like to put an end to the existence of the greatest civilization on earth, or the oldest continuous civilization on earth, then we have no option just to put an end to the existence and presence of United States in the Persian Gulf area.
Vishal Vivek back with us. Also joining me once again is Yusuf from Tehran. Yusuf, I want to come to you first. We've just heard from the Iranian regime where they say this was a deliberate target, the school where more than 160 lives have been lost. Reports stating that this could have been perhaps collateral damage. What are you hearing further from the Iranian regime, from the Iranian media on this?
Of course, talking about that, we're not really certain, but from the comments of Iranian officials, they've been trying to raise awareness, global awareness about the civilian damages and the civilian, of course, casualties inside or as part of this ongoing war. They've been trying to say that the United States does not care about Iran's civilians. They've been just talking about the fact that they just target Iranian military institutions. So from the in the Iranian rhetoric and Iranian media, they've been trying to just magnify the incident. Of course, it is significant. It is very much significant. 160 schoolgirls died instantly as a result of that attack. But of course, there are reports that that school was adjacent to a naval base possessed by the IRGC. Of course, in those areas, if you go and walk inside those small cities and towns on the coastline of the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman, you see that the neighborhoods and the military bases are intertwined, if we can say or describe it this way. You can see, you cannot really distinguish between schools and civilian areas and the military institutions. They're living together. And multiple times I went there to cover some naval drills or even missile drills by the IRGC. And we saw that civilians are literally living among the military servicemen. So for now, we cannot really speak for sure who is responsible.
Well, we can't speak for sure who's responsible, Vishal, but what we know from these two reports is that perhaps it is likely that this was a US strike that went wrong. But what adds to the story at this point is the fact that no one can deny it's been more than 6 days since this attack, and there has been no clear word from the US administration on what went wrong.
Well, Vedika, it's certainly one of the biggest questions that have still not been answered, and it's been almost a week of the war. It happened on the first day of the war, and even before these reports, these two reports that we've been talking about, NYT and Reuters, even before these reports came in, there were already many experts who had, done some kind of analysis, and they had zeroed in on the fact that this school lies on the southern part of Iran, and southern part of Iran was mostly targeted by the US side during the first 3-4 days of the war. So that way they had sort of zeroed in on the fact that the US could have been involved, could have been behind these attacks, but so far no official confirmation, no official word on this. The Department of War is clearly investigating the matter, is what Pete Hegseth has said. Many details are still to be divulged, but both these reports seem to almost clearly indicate that US was involved in these attacks, although not officially commented on it.
All right, Vishal and Yusuf, thank you for joining me here on Breaking Ground.